In this quick video, I'm going to explain the difference between your company name, your brand name, and your Amazon store name as an Amazon seller. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Okay guys, let's firstly talk about your company name. So as an Amazon seller, the first thing you want to do before you set up your Seller Central account, before you start looking for products, before you come up with a brand name, the first thing you want to do is create a company, set up a company for your business and come up with a company name. Now, in terms of what this company name can be, it really doesn't matter very much what it can be. It can really be anything you want, and I'll explain why in just a second. But the important thing to mention is whatever you decide for your company name, you will be sticking with for the long term. Now, you can actually change your company's name on Companies House, but it's a bit of a hassle. You have to change all of your company names on all of your documentation with your business bank account, with your business credit card, and so on. So ideally, you want to stick with the company name you choose for the longevity of your business. So why does it not really matter what your company name is? So there's really two main reasons. The first reason is that very few customers are actually ever going to see your company name. If you have a website, you're not going to have it on your website. Instead, you would have your brand name. And when you're selling on Amazon, it's not very visible to customers. So if I take you over to an example listing, what you'll see is that you can't see the company name for this company anywhere here in this listing. The only way a customer can see your company name is if they click into your seller store and then they scroll down to your company information where they can actually see your company name will be present here over in the right-hand side. Very, very few customers will ever do that, and very few customers will ever see your actual company name. The second reason is that unlike a brand name or trademark, your company name can be very, very similar to someone else's company name. It doesn't matter if there's two companies with very similar names. The only thing that matters is that you don't choose the exact same company name as someone else. And you can check this really easily by just coming over to Companies House, clicking Find Company Information, Start Now, and then you can use this search bar to basically search the company name you want to use and to see if any other companies have the same name as you. And this is going to pull up all the different companies that have similar names to this company name. So how do you actually come up with a name for your company? Well, like I said, it can be really anything you want. So I would just come up with a random word, try a few different random words, or if you can't think of anything, a random word and trading, like Artex Trading can always be a good option. What I wouldn't recommend doing here is using your own name. And the reason for that is that when I showed you on Amazon, some customers will be able to see your company details. They will if they click into your store name. And you don't want to call it something like Luca Davenport Limited or something like that, because you don't necessarily want your own name to be public to customers. So I would just think of something a bit more abstract. So let's say that you wanted to call this Artec Limited, let's say a random word like that. You will see that there is already an Artec Limited registered. So like I said, it can be similar to other names, but it can't be the same. So in this situation, you would not be able to register your company under that name. If you find something like that, what you can do is just add something like this, Artex Trading or Artec Products Limited. So let's try that instead. You can see there's no Artex Product Limited. So even though there are a few Artec Limited or things similar, you could still register a company under Artec Products Limited. And as you guys can also see, you need to include either LTD or limited at the name end of your company name if you're forming a private limited company. So once you've decided on a company name, it's time to actually set up your company. And when you set up your company, you have two main options. The first option is that you can use Companies House. So you can come over to Companies House, click Set Up a Company, and then you'll be taken to a page like this, which will walk you through the process. Now, the second option is that you can actually do this through Tide Bank, or actually get them to do it for you. Now, the reason why I would go with the second option and get Tide to do it is, number one, when you do it through Companies House, you have to pay a £12 fee. If you do it through Tide, they'll register the company for you completely for free. Number two, when you register on Companies House, it takes quite a long time, whereas with Tide, their process is much, much more simplified, and they actually do the application process for you. And number three, if you remember when I showed you the company details on Seller Central, it actually shows your registered business address. And if you register on Companies House yourself, you have to use your personal address to actually register for your business. And this is going to be shown on Amazon Seller Central, and you don't really want to have your personal address shown to customers. If you do it through Tide, you can actually use their virtual central London address as your registered company address, and this is what will actually show on Amazon. The fourth reason is that when you create a limited company, you need a business bank account to use with that limited company. You can't use your personal bank account. So when you do it through Tide, they'll actually set you up a limited company and a business bank account for that limited company up at the same time. The fifth and final reason is that Tide will actually give you £50 completely free into your business bank account when you go through this process with them. And that's just because they want you to be their customer. So it's kind of a no-brainer to do it with them. All you need to do to get that £50 is use the link and code in the description and make sure you deposit £100 into your account within the first 30 days of having that account opened. Now, when creating an Amazon Seller Central account, what Amazon will do is they'll ask you to create a store name. Now, just like your company name, this can really be anything you like. It doesn't matter whether there's trademarks, there's no checks you need to do. The only thing that matters, just like company names, is that nobody else is using that store name. No other Amazon seller is using that exact store name. And that's not even a check you need to do. When you put in your store name, if someone else is using it, Amazon will just say it's unavailable and they'll just ask you to pick a new one. So they do that availability checking for you. Now, unlike company names, your Amazon store name will be seen by more customers. So in a way, it's more important. And I'll show you what I mean by this. So when customers are actually on your product listing, just below the buy box on the right-hand side, they'll see this little sold by section here, and this will have your store name. Also, when they click on to your store name, it will take you to your seller store. And here they'll also be able to see your store name at the very top of the section there, just above where they can see your company details. So again, not many customers will see this or really take much notice of it, but more customers will see this than your company name. So it is slightly more important. On the flip side, you can actually change your store name whenever you want. So it's kind of less important. So you can really change it at any point in your journey, and you can also change it as many times as you like. So how do you actually choose a store name? Well, there's really three main options. Option one is that you make your store name the same as your company name. Option number two is that you make your store name the same as your brand name. And option number three is that you choose something completely random, something completely different from your brand name or company name. Now, if you're only selling one brand under your company and store, then I would recommend making your store name your brand name. It's just a simple way to do it. There's no reason not to do it like that. If you're selling multiple brands under your store, then I would make your store name either something completely random or the same as your company name. Again, if you don't like your company name, or you did something like making your company name your name, so like Luca Limited, then you might want to make your store name something completely random, and that's also totally fine. Okay, so now that we've covered company names and store names, let's finally talk about brand names. And your brand name is what customers are going to see. It's your customer-facing name of the products you sell, essentially. So think of things like Nike, Apple, Converse. And it's important to understand that your brand name is the name that customers associate with your products. They don't care about your company name or store name. They care about your brand name. So your brand name is by far the most important out of these three names, and it's the one that you need to think about the most. It's also going to be the name out of the three that customers see the most. So if I take you over to this listing, customers will see your brand name probably on your actual product itself. Like in this example, it'll be on your product packaging. If you do branded product packaging, which I would recommend, it will be at the top. It will be at the start of your title. Also, if you have a brand store, when they click into your brand store, there'll be a customized brand store with your brand name there as well. So as you can see, the customers will see your brand name a lot. So it's by far the most important out of the three. Now, when it comes to your brand name, it can be totally different to your company name and your store name, as mentioned earlier. And the reason for this is that as an Amazon seller, you're more than likely going to have one limited company. You're going to have one Amazon Seller Central account on one store name. However, you may have multiple brands under that one company and under that one store. Obviously, as a new seller, you're just going to start off with one brand, but as time goes on and you reinvest, you might launch multiple brands in the future. So let me show you what this would look like. So if we're using this example again, if I click into the seller's store and I come down and have a look at all the products they sell, you can see that this is one company, one store. However, they have multiple products. So they've got multiple brands. Sorry, they've got DIY Doctor, they've got Medipack, they've got Flybuy, they've got Deer and Oak. So these are all different brands under the same company, under the same store. Okay, so how do you actually go about creating your brand name if it's that important? Well, there's really two main options. Your first option is to just have a generic, general, non-niche specific brand name and sell multiple niches under that same brand name. So it might be just a random word like Bosbo, or it might be something like Home Bargains, just something generic. Your second option is to have a niche specific brand name. So for instance, let's say you're selling tech products, your brand name might be Tech Lab, and you only sell tech products under that brand. And if you wanted to sell other types of products in different niches, you would then create a new brand name for those other niches. Now, out of those two options, I would recommend going with the second option, a niche specific brand. And the reason for that is that if you go with a niche specific brand, you can actually tailor your brand specifically to that niche. When you're creating your brand kit, so things like you can create a specific font, specific colors, specific slogans, specific language, that's all tailored specifically for your niche. And if you do that, your brand's going to connect with the customers in that niche better. It's going to make your product seem more desirable, and you're going to have a higher conversion rate. You know, for example, would you prefer to buy a tech product, so let's say a wireless microphone from a company called Tech Lab, or one called Home Bargains or Bosbo? Probably Tech Lab. And but just because you associate that brand name with the brand, and it will have brand assets specific to that niche. So in general, what I'd recommend doing is keeping your company name and your store name generic and general, and then when you create your brand name, making them niche specific. So what you want to do is find your first product. Once you've decided on a product, you've decided on a niche, then come up with a few different brand name options that are niche specific. Once you've done that, you then need to do two checks to make sure you can actually use that brand name. The first check is to check whether there are any active trademarks. So you need to make sure there are no trademarks for the brand name that you want to use. So what you want to do is come over to trademark search and click search by keyword, phrase, or image. Then in here, you just want to write the brand name you want to use. So this example, I will use Tech Lab. Once you've written the brand name in, you just want to scroll down and search. So what you can see here is there are actually a few registered trademarks for the brand name Tech Lab. So in this situation, you probably would not want to move forward with that brand name. However, if there were no registered trademarks for that brand name, the second check you'd want to do is to make sure that no other brand is using that same brand name on Amazon. So very simple, just come over to Amazon and then type the brand name you want to use. So I'll write Tech Lab and search. And as you can see, luckily here, there are no other products being sold under the brand name Tech Lab. So provided there was also no active trademarks, then you can actually go ahead and use that brand name. Now you can actually sell on Amazon under your brand name without a registered trademark for your brand name. However, I would recommend registering a trademark because it will give you access to Amazon's brand registry and all the tools that come with that in Seller Central, analytics tools, A+ content, and so on and so on. Luckily for you guys, I've recently put out a video all about how to register for a trademark. It's a very simple, quick, and easy process, and also how to apply for Amazon's brand registry. So I'd watch those videos next. I'll link them up here somewhere and also down in the description. So guys, I hope you found this video helpful. Hopefully it's cleared up the difference between company names, brand names, and Amazon store names. If it's helped you, give the video a like, consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next one.